Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It's Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. We're looking at a little bit of a sell-off here after yesterday's video. I think the latter scenario is playing out. I do believe the top is in, and then I'll show you the alternate scenario where I think it's less probable that we make a new high, but it still could be considered an ABC correction. So that's not off the table. It just becomes less probable. And so we'll spend a little bit of time on the 65-minute for that. We're doing this intraday about 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to get these videos intraday, consider becoming a YouTube member, YouTube supporter. It's 99 cents. I really appreciate all the support that's been out here. It's to supplement the YouTube. Spend a lot of time doing these videos. And there's also another option where we get more in depth with $4.99 membership. So yeah, what we're looking at right now is a little bit of a sell-off. We're going to look at the indicators, and again, we'll spend more time on the 65. I think it's necessary today. So let's jump into it. We have SPX on the daily time frame. If we dig in close here, we're coming right into that former trend line there. That's from 2008. This line is from 1929. Although we're having a throw over, I do believe this move is done, but we're at a certain support here, and I do believe we can get a little bit of a bounce before heading lower. Now, it's not unheard of if our alternate scenario where we inch out a new high here, I do still think that the Qs will make a lower high. Okay, so looking at the moving averages, we're fighting with that 8 EMA. We have the trend line under us, and there's a 20. If price moves down just a little bit further, there's a 20 moving average. So momentum is being threatened right now, but the trend is still up. McClellan oscillator, we're right there at the neutral point. I do suspect this will head lower. We'll have to watch, see what happens. These divergences are certainly going to play out. Okay, so we're starting to get a rollover. We have a red histogram. Let's see if that crosses there, and starting to get weaker in the market. If we do inch out that new high, then we'll have a near-term negative divergence. Otherwise, these are starting to play out. We have the slow stoke crossing over. We had a hint of it yesterday at the close. We saw that the slow stoke was crossing that 80 line, which gave us a sell signal, and that's starting to play out. DMARC, again, we had that 9 count, so that played out on the money there. Had the 9 count sell signal and some follow through now. I do want to see a 9 count wave count to the downside at this point, and we're getting the 1 here. Even if we get a bounce, we'll still be looking for the count to continue. Awesome oscillator, getting a red bar here. We want to see this divergence play out. All right, let's go to SPY for that money flow index. And we saw yesterday that the money was flowing out. We were getting distribution, even with these new highs here. So we're starting to see this play out. This is a really, really good indicator of catching turns, distribution, accumulation. And this is, again, starting to play out here with that new high. You had more distribution, and this should cycle all the way through. Now, we are expecting an impulse wave. So there are 2 scenarios, the bearish and the bullish, not just in this little near term. I'm going to talk about the 65 in this very near term and the micro term, right? There's a bull bear scenario there. And then overall, there's a bull bear scenario that I'm not going to go fully through. I'll show you a peek of it, but if you want to look at the weekend video, it goes a lot more in depth. I did that yesterday. So we have the money flow index, money's flowing out, Bollinger Band. We had the sell signal up here with the overbought situation into the top of the Bollinger Band, and we're starting to play out. And that would be the 20 moving average right in the middle there. I'm not sure we get there yet before bounce here, and I'll show you why on the 65. This we want to see starting to play out again, wave 3 into wave 5. Okay, let's go over to the VIX before we go down to the 65-minute. So the VIX is starting to set its base up here. We had that low last week. We were looking for that ideal low. That's starting to set up. We're making higher highs and higher lows, and this is going to be interesting on the 65. I do believe this is one formation in itself, so we should see a little bit lower prices here in the VIX, but we're not going to play any real calls into this. You know, this is such a micro term move. I'm not going to play around with that unless you're going to scalp with futures or something like that. Okay. On the 65. On the 65, we had this channel breakdown, and we started to see this fall. Now, here is something very interesting. So we were talking about the bullish situation, and let me go over to this board here. I want to show this exactly what we're looking for. So here's our retracements, retracing extensions here from this correction. And we got up to the 127. So that was satisfied in itself for this to be a top. And I do believe that's the case now. But the bulls, maybe I have this on, nope, excuse me, timing. Okay, so we'll play around with the bullish scenario here, where we might just go just a little bit higher. And so after that retracement, we had a possible ending diagonal here, 1, 2, wave 3. And what I'm counting at right now is this being a 4 and this being a 5. That would be in truncated fifth, because we did not get a new high here, but SPX did. Now, here is the little bit bullish scenario in the micro term, where this is wave 4 into wave 5. So we go down to wave 2, and we get some retracements from the top there. Plug in that 23 and then 38, get rid of the 50, 60, 70. And that would be, you know, if we get that wick over there, we're holding that 382, that would be a wave 4, and then we inch out a new high there for a wave 5. All right, and then there's targets above if need be. After that high is broken, then we'll look to see what other plans can happen at that point. I don't think that's the case. I do have a wave count where if this is the high, then let's look at it from a different point of view. Not that one, where the top is in and this is the low. And so on the very, very near term, and we're going to look for a 5-wave move lower, but this would be the high here. And we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Really had to get down to the 15-minute, and I don't do that often, but I'm just wondering what was happening here. And then we got a bounce, and then we had a 3, 4, 5 in here. So I think this is a leading diagonal, and this wave 1 is done, and that would be right here at the former all-time highs. And we were looking at that in the members video. We talked about this high here and how important it would be. And so this is an objective long here if you want to. I do think the bounce is going to be limited. I think it's going to be into this 50-60% at the 643. Could go as high as the 786. It's possible. But I do think this is going to be a dead cat bounce. And if we go over to the Qs, we also went over this in the members video. So with the Qs, again, it hit its retracement here, the first target, main target, rejected off of it. Now, this, you can start to see the 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then I was looking at this as a leading diagonal. So an ABC for a 1, 2, ABC for 3, 4, ABC for a wave 5. Now that gives us also that leading diagonal, all in 3 waves for wave 1 into a wave 2. Now what's more clear is SMH. So SMH, we didn't know where our bottom would come in, but it looks like it's tempting that bottom. This is a lot more clear for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, don't get me wrong. If these are 3 waves, it looks like this is 3 waves right here. All right, there's not a whole lot you can see in that wave pattern. And so really, this could be the end of wave 3, get a little bounce, 4, and 5. So, I'm not going long in these. What I'm going to do is, if and when these start to really get their bounce in and get up to the 50%, 50% is always a great place to take profit. And that's why you usually see a reaction off of it. And plus, it's good resistance right here. Resistance, resistance. And so we'll look to take off or add on to puts up in this zone. All right. And so, it's looking like a good reversal wick here. If we get our bounce, some sort of ABC in here, then we'll look to short it again. We want to sell the rip. That's what mode we're in. And so with this looking like 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the combination of this looking like a wave 5. Now, what's the alternate scenario where this goes lower? You could say this is some sort of 1, 2, maybe 1, 2, 1, 2, and it's starting to play out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 4, 5, 4, 5. So there is a situation. I think this is a 3-wave move, and so I want to say this is a leading diagonal, and that looks complete if you count it like that. But I could see if somebody else, this is definitely not a 1, 2 here, and then another 1, 2 because it crosses back over. All right, so it looks like a 3-wave move, and that's how I'm counting it so far. And the most sloppy one is SPY, so I have to kind of depend on those there. And this is the shortest one as well, so that's why I still think this is on the table to where this could eke out a new high and the other ones get a lower high. All right, so let's go ahead and finish this up with the traditional technical analysis here and see where the moving averages and the indicators are at this point. And here's our moving averages. We lost the 8 and the 20, so the momentum is down and the trend is down so far. Here we have the MACD rolling over. The histograms are starting to rise there. Now we are at the 0 line, so that, again, there's a little bit of evidence that that we could get a bounce at this point. We're also oversold. We're in an oversold condition. And you see the same thing with the slow stoke. Now this could start to curl up, and if that's the case, we'll start to get our bounce there. And if this makes it back up here, maybe to an overbought situation, maybe that's where we begin to short again. DMARC. We're at 3 count to the downside. If we can get that bounce and see that that would be a good resistance right there at the 640, about 643. And then you could also get a resistance at the bow and arrow resistance, which basically is a volume node up here at 645. So that would match our scenario where we sell into, there you go. You get the 643 area where the 5060 is and the 645 area where the 786. So that would be our retracements, and you'd see that volume node into here. We have our awesome oscillator starting to turn negative. Money flow, not quite oversold there yet. So maybe this needs to play out more. Maybe I'm counting it wrong in that 5 waves into here. I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. and then you get your bounce for a 2. In other words, an extension. And then you get 3, 4, and 5. I think that's in there scrunched up. We looked at the 15-minute. But if this does go further, then obviously, that's speculative, and we could make it down to this gap area, and maybe this gets into the oversold territory. But again, I'm not going long off of it anyway. So this is such a micro-term thing. This bounce should last a day. Maybe by Thursday, we're looking at some sort of catalyst, or Friday, to sell into again. Bollinger Band being pushed after being really tight here yesterday, is starting to push to the downside. See if it backtests some of the moving averages, peaks above it, and heads lower. But you do have, if you're a very short-term trader, you have your buy signal right here, if this is your trade setup. Volume shelf, let's see if I can see anything here. Really difficult to see on the screen, but you have the volume shelf right here, and so just missing it, can't really tell, just missing it, or you're right at it, but you have a little bit of a shelf right there. I think it's right about there. And then obviously there's a node right there. So there's another one here, and so forth. It's difficult to see. I need to lower the time frame if I want to see this on. So you have your volume, top of the node at 645. Bottom, okay, that was that node. I'm trying to look for. So you have your gap area. Maybe it was trying to hold the gap area. Here at 640. All right, sorry I spent so much time on that. Oh yeah, oscillator starting to play out. Again, we already had this on SPX, okay? And although we didn't get a new high here, I wanted to represent a placeholder in case we did. This still, it's in bear territory, but we'll see where this ends up after this bounce. Lower high, higher high. We're going to look for that. Either way, we're really, really limited on this move here. So, yeah, I think that's it, you guys. All right. I'm going to get this out to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day, and good luck trading.